Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, AI is taking over the planet. We'll be talking to an international expert next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's I spies.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I guess I've heard of artificial intelligence my entire adult life, but it didn't really hit me between the eyes until ChatGPT came along. And I think that describes millions of people around the planet where suddenly we realized, man, this is a thing. Somebody who was into AI before AI was cool is my next guest, Yeshwant Muthusamy. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Absolutely. Okay, when did you first become aware of artificial intelligence?
I'm going to date myself, but the first time I heard of artificial intelligence was when I was in graduate school in the late 1980s. And so that's when I began to take courses in graduate school on artificial intelligence. Actually, in my final year of my undergraduate program, I actually wrote a paper about what were then called fifth generation computers. And one of the big things about fifth generation computers at that time was they included artificial intelligence. So if you want to place a time, I would say 1987 is when I first became aware of the technology area. And even then, I was about 30 years into as far as the age of the technology itself was concerned.
Yes.
Because artificial intelligence actually began in the early 1950s.
Wow.
And I was not there then, just to make sure. But
well, now, I heard you speak at a Success North Dallas panel about a week ago, and you had a great analogy that you used about a chainsaw. Will you share that story with us?
Sure. I have seen a lot of people have a lot of fear and misconceptions and misunderstanding of the power and limitations of ChatGPT. And so I often use this in my course, and I say, unleashing somebody or unleashing ChatGPT on the general population is like giving a 10-year-old a chainsaw. If you teach that 10-year-old how to do the task, it's most like he is going to most likely do a fantastic job of cutting down all the hedges in your backyard while you sit back and sip an iced tea. But if you don't do a good job, or you just think that just because you handed a chainsaw to that kid, he's going to do a good job, most likely he's going to lose a limb or two and maybe even hurt you or others in the process. And that, to me, gets to the heart of how people should approach this. It is like talking to a young assistant that needs a lot of direction.
Yes.
A lot of input, a lot of back and forth.
And we've got some video from our library of AI, and as we put up it on the screen, I think one of the points that everybody on the panel made is AI is here to stay. This is not a passing fancy, and there's going to be two kinds of people on the planet, the people who embrace it and learn how to use the tool, and the people whose job will be eliminated because they were asleep.
Exactly, and that's what I keep saying, because I hear a lot of this, AI is going to come after my job. No, AI is not going to come after your job. But the guy or gal who knows how to use AI most certainly is going to come after your job.
Yes.
I can guarantee the latter.
Very powerful. And you have a course. We're going to go ahead and put this on the screen so people can sign up. Tell us about the course that you're unveiling.
Sure. This course I've actually taught twice before, and I'm about to embark on the third cohort. And this course is designed mainly for non-technical professionals, and that includes business leaders, decision makers, mid-level, top-level managers, sales and marketing professionals, and just about anybody who has to deal with AI. And we all are having to do exactly that these days. Anybody who has to use AI, who needs to understand the value proposition of AI, who needs to understand the application areas and the use cases, but who doesn't really care about the technical details.
Yes.
The way I liken to it is like, I want to know, I don't care how the mousetrap is built. I want to know whether it can catch mice and how much money I can make while it's doing that. And that is exactly what this course is like. It'll teach you, I start off with a good background because just to dispel all these misconceptions about AI, and I then go into these application areas and use cases. There is no math, no Python programming or no programming of any kind. And this is just meant for you to get a solid, broad-based understanding of the technology.
Yes.
And most importantly, I make sure at every step of the way, people are well aware of the limitations of the technology. AI is not a silver bullet. It's not going to solve every problem you have, but it can get you a long way towards doing that.
And if you're a CEO right now watching this broadcast, you've got to educate yourself, right?
Yes.
You can't just say, oh, that's something that my IT guy can learn.
No, because a lot of people, a lot of CEOs and a lot of CIOs that I talk with are kind of disappointed when they find out that in order to get the maximum ROI from AI, they first have to go and clean their data up. Data is the fuel of AI. And if you have bad data, it doesn't matter if you have the world's best AI model, you're going to get crap out. I mean, it's garbage in and garbage out. And that is something that people are learning the hard way, that you need to first get your data in order. So, and only then you can get to the fun part, which is the AI stuff.
And some people have compared AI to the beginning of the internet, that it's such a profound game changer. Would you say that that's a fair comparison?
It is a fair comparison, and it is fun to see that after so many years that AI has finally been democratized. And ChatGPT is a big reason for that, right?
Yes.
Because before that, AI was under the purview of the schools or the researchers or people who had access to high-powered machines. But now with ChatGPT, you can go in and you can log on, and you wanted to write a business letter, voila.
Yes.
It does that. It's fantastic. But it comes with its own caveats. You cannot believe everything it puts out, and a lot of people treat that interaction with ChatGPT as a one-off.
Yes.
You need to have a dialogue with it. And that's one of the things I teach in the course. You need to be just like you would talk to an assistant you've just hired.
Yes.
I mean, you are in the business. I'm sure you hired and fired a lot of people. If you hire a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed young assistant, you're not going to just throw a piece of paper at him and say, okay, come on, go do your job.
Yes.
You're going to be going back and forth. You're going to be giving instructions. The first instructions you give, that assistant, as smart as he is, may not quite get it the way you want it. So you go back. Exactly the same thing.
So for the CEO who might be watching this saying, okay, you've got my attention, this is such a game changer. It can save companies millions of dollars, can't it?
It can. But if they're not careful, they can also lose millions of dollars because there is a lot of money that you need to spend up front before you can get to the value part of it.
Sure.
And so you better know what you're doing while you're going through the process.
Yes.
And because especially with AI, if you don't train the model properly, if your model that you deploy in the wild ends up having all kinds of biases.
Sure.
Because it's going to be an artifact of the training data. If your training data is biased towards certain ethnic groups or towards certain genders or certain groups of people, guess what? Your AI model is going to reflect that. And once your model is out in the wild, it's going to be an expensive process to kind of get it back, and any damage to your PR, all those things.
Let's take a case study, and this made headlines around the world. McDonald's was using AI to do order taking, but some of these videos went viral where you're like, I would like a Big Mac, and then suddenly they said, would you also like whipped cream on that shake? And I mean, so what did McDonald's do wrong? What do they need to do to get it right?
That comes down to proper in not being able to test the model enough. There's testing of your model is crucial.
Yeah.
And testing and audits of your model is not a one-off. It's an ongoing process.
Yes. So before they started to put that out there in the public,
they needed to have tested it, because once you put something out in the wild, guess what? There's going to be at least one guy who tries to break it.
Yes.
And so you have to be a lot of testing, a lot of internal audits, and which is where this whole notion of AI governance frameworks is beginning to gain traction.
Yes.
You need to, and the way I see it, AI governance is not a purview of only the large companies. It's a mindset.
Sure.
You are never too small to have an AI governance framework, in my opinion. You might be a startup with only 2 guys, but if the CEO and the CTO or whoever it is, if they have AI governance in mind, they're going to do well.
Sure. I can see why you're so successful. You're also a very popular guest on podcasts. We got some video of a recent podcast that you did. When you're invited on to talk about AI, what are some of the common misconceptions about AI? What do people get wrong?
They think it is an all-powerful, all-encompassing technology, and they are afraid of it. That is the most common reaction I get. And it's a tool. It is good to have a healthy fear of the tool. Going back to the example of the chainsaw, it is good to be very aware of all the bad things that can happen, but that shouldn't stop you from learning how to use it.
Yes.
And it's a fantastic labor compression tool. I cannot imagine my workday now, a single workday, without the use of any of these large language model chatbots. I use more than one, because I try to play them off against each other, because I don't believe what comes out of them just straight off the bat.
Wow.
I have to make sure that what they are giving me is kind of factual and is verifiable. And it's funny, I have examples over examples which I show in my course. The moment you challenge them, 9 times out of 10, they back up. They kind of back off, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm still learning."
As we wind down the show, I want you to have a call to action right now. So look into the camera on the left and talk to that business leader who really needs to get aboard this train and maybe check out your course.
Yeah, I would say that AI is here to stay. It's not a fad, and it can save your company, regardless of the size of your company, a lot of money if it is done right. And one thing I do in my course is to impart for people who have never been exposed to that technology, or who have just heard bits and pieces from the news. I try to kind of calm them down, so to speak. I start off with a broad-based introduction, then going into the application areas. I also talk about the interaction of generative AI with these various well-known technologies, like cybersecurity and AI is a big deal now. AI and IoT, the Internet of Things, that is a big deal.
Yes.
AI and blockchain, there is a lot of real interesting work that's happening at the intersection of those technologies.
Yes.
AI and healthcare, oh my God, there is so much of work that's happening that can bring real value to the common man. So I would encourage people to check out my course. It starts August 3rd, 4 weeks, 3 hours per week. It's on Saturday afternoons, 1:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. I am partnering with Divergence Academy. That's a company that is into data science and cybersecurity courses, but their courses are more intense. But they see my course as a good starting point for people who want to go and take more advanced courses that they offer. So the classes will be held in person. I'm suffering from Zoom fatigue. So I like to talk to the people, and I like to read the room. Yes. Because that lets me change course on the fly if I have to. And so I love in-person interaction. And don't take my word for how good the course is. On that course website that you saw, there are student feedback forms, which you can go read. There are 3 students who agreed to give video testimonials. They were not compensated. It's all what they thought about the course. And I hope to see you guys in class.
Outstanding. We're gonna put that website up on the screen and just leave that on the screen for a little bit so people can write that down or freeze frame it. Yeshwant Muthusamy, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
It's been a pleasure.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.